So what is your full name? Just for the recording.
What is my what?
Your full name.
My name is Ann without the E, Louise Thompson.
Do you know why your parents chose that name for you?
Because my grandmother on my father's side was named Annie.
Oh.
So they was named after my grandmother, but I never met any of my grandparents.
Oh, okay.
They all died before I was born.
Wow.
And I tell children all the time they're so pleased to know who their grandparents are. And that's the work I did. I'm a retired social worker.
Oh.
And I place children in foster care and all of that.
So when and where were you born?
I was born in a little town, and everybody said was never on the map, called Gordonsville, Virginia.
Okay.
And I always tell people it's near Charlottesville, Virginia, because most people know about Charlottesville. And I was raised on a farm.
Oh, wow. A farm? Was it like a cattle farm, or what kind of farm?
Well, we had cows, we had horses, and we had gardens, and that's how we lived.
Wow. So do you have any children or grandchildren?
No, I don't have children. But I have 4 generations of nieces and nephews. And I'm sure nobody else can tell you that.
Probably not.
4 generations of nieces and nephews.
Do you know how many nieces and nephews you have total?
No, but I could count it up real quick. They're my 4th. Barbara's children. And of course I used to carry Barbara around when she was small. So we have more girls in our family than we do boys.
Oh. What is your earliest memory?
Of being on the farm.
Yes, on the
Yeah,
farm.
on the
I would like
farm.
to hear it.
Well, I was on the farm with my family ever since I was 19. And then at 19, we weren't allowed to go to the white school. They had a beautiful school, and we only had a little one room for us. And at 19, I went to Washington and lived with my father's sister so I could finish school, because I was determined to finish. And the little one-room store that we had, we only went to the 9th grade. We weren't allowed to go to the beautiful high school brick building. They didn't even want us to pass by.
So, when you moved, was it like around here? Was this Mount Pleasant or not yet?
No, not that yet. I went to high school in Washington because my father's sister had me there. Then years later, I enrolled in Westchester. It wasn't a university then. It was Westchester School. It became a university later. And you weren't allowed to live on the campus, even there.
Oh, wow.
You could go to school, but you weren't allowed to. So that's the way it was with everyone.
So you moved, when you went to Westchester, you moved there, how old were you when you moved there?
I was 19.
19.
And I rented a room from a lady to go to school, because blacks weren't allowed to live on the campus then.
Did you have a lot of other situations like that with discrimination and
Oh, yes.
yeah. Or
The
like,
little town that we lived in, Gordonsville, we had to go upstairs if we were going to go to the movies
oh wow.
or anything else we were going to do. And we had to go to the school in another county because Gordonsville was a small little town. And although we lived out of the little town, on the farm, we weren't allowed to do anything.
But did you still get good business on your farm, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I said, the school for blacks were only to the 9th grade. And I always believed those teachers didn't know much as I did.
Hey, you never know, because I know the training back then wasn't so good for teachers, so.
Hmm. But I was determined I was going to finish school, so that's why that happened. And even later years, it's been bad.
What are some of your, like, most memorable issues that you had with them?
That one time, there was a gas station, and on the other end, they sold ice cream. And I went there one day with my sisters. There were 7 of us. I'm the only one living. And I bought an ice cream cone. And then the salesperson said, "You can't sit on the stool." And that was in latter years. And I remember feeling so bad about that. But then that's the way we lived.
Wow.
That's some strong words.
Mm-hmm.
So if you read those things in a book or something, they're true.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Did this affect you negatively, or did you learn to grow from it?
I learned to grow from it because that's what everybody was living. And the one thing I hated, the white man would call my dad Uncle George to keep from calling him Mister. And I remember one day telling them that we weren't related to him. Hmm. That's the reason they would call all black men Uncle. It was because they didn't want to call you Mister.
I never knew that.
Well, that's true.
Wow.
Hmm.
So you said that you practiced social work then.
Hmm.
So was that always the plan, or what did you want to be when you were little?
I used to think a teacher because that's the only thing they told us in school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can be a teacher. They never said you could be a social worker. They never said you could have a business or anything. They finally said that when you grow up, you can be a teacher.
Oh, wow.
Social worker was never mentioned. But I learned that later years, because I've always liked children, how kids were taken from their parents,
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't take care of them. And although we were poor, we were close to each other. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So when did you move to Mount Pleasant?
By that time, I had worked and had a job. In '85, I bought a house in Mount Pleasant, and I still own the house.
Wow. So you moved because you had the job and you had the resources to move here? Was there like any other reasons why you chose this specific area?
Well, this is my niece's, and I wasn't feeling. A car ran over me and crippled me in '85. That's why I'm crippled.
Wow.
Broke both of my ankles, my shoulder. And that's why I walk with the cane. But I'm blessed to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
It was one New Year's Eve in '85. I was coming out of my church. I go to church at 56 and Girard Avenue in Philadelphia. In fact, I was living in Philadelphia for a while. I had a 2-story building, and the car came up on the sidewalk and hit me and kept going.
Oh my God.
The people, so both of my ankles was broken in my shoulder, and I was in University Hospital, because that was the closest one to go.
Mm-hmm.
And all the doctors said, I told my family I would never walk again, but I'm walking. I walk with a cane, but I walk. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I still have my house. I'm going to put it up for sale because I have a 3-bedroom house, kitchen, and a beautiful yard like this on Mount Pleasant Avenue. But at my age, I don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to buy something smaller.
Going back to the church, was like the church always a big part of your life growing up?
Yes, because
Yes.
we went to church. I can remember going to church every Sunday when I was 12. And a lot of times we had to walk to church. So I remember that. My father sang on the choir, and he was also a deacon in the church. And we went to church. And these kids, I dress up when I go to church and wear hats.
Yeah.
They wear anything now.
Yeah.
But when we were little, we had to wear hats to church. We might only had one to wear, but we went to Sunday school. And now I teach Sunday school
Oh yeah. Where?
in my church.
Oh.
Hmm.
What kind of church is it?
Baptist.
Baptist.
Hmm.
My grandmother, she has some hats from when she used to like go to church a lot. Like, she's a little bit crippled now as well, so she can't really make it because we live in New York, so the church is pretty far.
Yeah.
But yeah, she has a lot of beautiful hats and stuff that.
Oh, I do
Yeah.
too, but they're still in my hat. Because I came over here to live with Barbara in December of 13.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want me to be in the house by myself, so I came here. And I do have it up. I'm not bragging, but I have a beautiful home. Big yard, had so many cookouts.
Oh wow.
But the tax is very high in Gain.
You said they didn't want you to be by yourself, so was your family always very close?
Always very close. I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Wow.
And was 7 of us. And before I was born, my mother had a daughter and she named her Martha. And she died when she was little. So we didn't know, the rest of us didn't know that. I'll show you some pictures on the wall before you go. So that left me 3 brothers and 3 sisters. And Libby was the oldest, Helen was the next. George was the oldest brother. He lived in Westchester for a long time. He taught school. And my other brother's name was Squire. It's so funny. My dad and my mother both had brothers named Squire. And he didn't like that name at all because people used to call him Squire. you're a squire. And my oldest brother lived in Westchester. And we came to Westchester because my oldest sister married a fellow there. And then the rest of us just started moving up there. Yeah, we were a close family. Very close.
So are you the youngest, or?
No, there were 2 younger than I am.
So you guys have a big family.
What is some of your favorite parts about living in Mount Pleasant?
Well, I know why. My brother, my youngest brother, who died 2 years ago, he was in the service 23 years.
Wow.
So we came over to Mount Pleasant to visit somebody.
Mhm.
And having been on a farm in a garden, my brother said, oh, we could have a big garden here. And that's what happened.
Oh.
Hmm.
So
And-
your brother lived here too?
No, he was in the service 23 years. He is the only one who went to high school here. He went to Radnor High School,
Oh, wow.
but the rest of us went to high school. Like I told you, I was in Washington.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's beautiful. So you guys had a big garden. Did you guys have like a lot of more like vegetables and fruits, or like flowers, or both?
We had both.
Wow.
And we had grapevines, and we had peach trees, and we had pear trees, and we had all that good fresh stuff.
Wow, that must have been wonderful. Did the community like get involved in like looking at your garden, maybe helping you, or did you give out fruits maybe?
Well, see, my brothers, that was the work for them to do.
Mm.
You know, back there then.
Mhm.
But when I bought the house in Yaden, I did the garden. And my brother, when he came home, he would help. Because it's nothing like fresh fruit and vegetables.
Mm. I wish I could have a garden.
Mhm.
Did you ever think about maybe becoming a florist maybe at some point?
No, I didn't.
No.
Because once I started working, we had the habit of helping the others.
Yes.
And although I don't have children, I have helped many children to go to college.
So are you still like close to some children today, or do you have a story that stuck with you?
Yes, one time a young man, that was after I had come up here, excuse me, and he had a sleeping disease that he'd be sitting up in school and he would go to sleep or something. And his mother didn't pay much attention to him. That's when I started social work. And I talked to him, would go to see him and everything. And 2 years ago, he wrote me the last letter to tell me if I had not helped him, that he wouldn't have been able to go. He went in the service. And as he grew older, you know, he was cleared of that. But you know, you hear people just going somewhere, sitting there, you know, and go to sleep.
Yeah, my father has it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that was nice, because I thought he had forgotten about me. And in the social worker, you're not supposed to give the kids
Yeah.
your address or nothing, especially those who were taken away from the parents, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I got this letter for him.
That's beautiful.
Mhm. But I like children, and we had fun, although we were poor. My mother and dad would play baseball with us, And you know, farm is kind of big. And I could ride horses. And one time, I'll tell you a joke, my brother, the one I said didn't act like his name, my father told us to go to water the horse. And it was a little creek somewhere near us. And I didn't know how to sit back on the horse then. So when the horse put his head down, I went over the water. And see, my brother didn't want me to go with him. He said, girls don't have no business riding horses. So he teased me about that, and I always remember that.
Brothers always like to tease.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I remember you had mentioned that you would have cookouts here in Mount Pleasant.
Oh, yeah.
How were those?
Oh, they were nice because I would invite bought the house in 85 in Mount Pleasant. And a lot of people and children in the city, they don't know what a grass yard is. Because, you know, a lot of people live in the houses right on the street. And we would have people. And I liked to cook. And my brother, my youngest brother, he liked to cook. So we'd have a lot of cookouts.
So you have like the whole community come?
Yeah.
So...
Well, food wasn't as high then as it is there.
So, the community was very close.
Yeah,
then.
very close.
Do you guys still have like cookouts today, or how's it changed?
Well, Barbara do. Barbara is an insurance person, but she was laid off, and she take care of her grandchildren during the day, but they go to school. And their father and mother were teachers. Jennifer, her second, I think somebody interviewed her yesterday. Mm-hmm. But I helped all my family I could to go to school. And I guess that's why they're so nice to me. Do you have sisters or brothers?
Yes, I have 2 older brothers, so I guess you can say I have like 3 fathers. So I know what it is to have a brother tease you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, we used to play baseball as well, and he would say things like, oh, baseball's not for girls.
And not only that, my brothers would protect us.
Yes.
Like when we started dating or something, they made sure nobody did anything to us. That's how close we were.
Amen, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
How has Mount Pleasant changed since you first moved here in 85?
yeah.
Oh, everything have changed.
Everything's changed?
Yeah.
What's the biggest change that you see?
Well, I found out even then, when you tried for a job and you know you could do it, you didn't get it. They gave it to somebody white. And they're still doing that. Mm-hmm.
What about with the college students starting to move in here and populate Mount Pleasant more? How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel good about it because I wasn't crippled and I could do things. And I still will go to Cheney and take some courses. And in 85, I stopped. I did it from the beginning. But I don't like to go out by myself now because I have to walk with a cane. And I stopped driving. I drove for 60 years and never had an accident.
Wow.
So I decided to give it up. But I still get my license. They'll run out this year. But I don't drive anymore. And I don't go out by myself at night, especially if I'm going towards Philadelphia.
Was it always this way, like in the past, or just more recent years because maybe you feel unsafe, or?
Well, that's it. As I tell everybody, I can't run anymore.
Oh, yes.
But I go to church and I teach Sunday school. And the nieces are good. We went to see a movie, Tyler Perry, the other day. I don't stop. And then we went to a Japanese restaurant, which I had never been to. So they keep me busy.
So, how do you feel the community has changed as a whole in Mount Pleasant? Do you feel like everyone's still close, or?
Well, I think Mount Pleasant is. Now, see, years ago, I used to live here because my father and mother lived in this house.
Yeah.
Of course, it's been approved after they came up from Virginia. See, my mother and father lived in Gordonsville, and then later years they came up to live with my older sister. But Mount Pleasant is a nice little, it's not a city, it's a borough. And I like it very much. And I like my house that's there very much too.
So what does Mount Pleasant mean to you? Like, what are some fond memories that you have from
Well, see, I've lived in Mount Pleasant at 80. The year 85, we bought the house. And I liked it very much because it wasn't far from Philadelphia, where I go to church. But now I'm further away, see, because Wayne is pretty good little ways from Philadelphia. And all my church members and half of them don't know how to come out here. But Mount Pleasant I like Mount Pleasant. Like I said, the tax is very high there. But it's a small borough, and the police give you good protection because it's such a little borough. They can take care of it. It's not like Philadelphia. And I like my house there.
So, how do you feel about the developers coming into Mount Pleasant?
What?
The developers. How do you feel about them coming into Mount Pleasant?
Well, I think we should welcome everybody. Don't care who you are. And I try to be nice to people, and I think that's why people are nice to me. Because since I've been at Barbara's house, all of my church family come to see me. They call me every day. I'm a deaconess in my church.
Oh, wow.
And I get calls because I don't go to church every Sunday. Sometimes I go with Barbara because they go right up the street. But I've been at that church 53 years and I would not change it. And we've only had 2 preachers. That's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. That's dedication.
Yes, it is. We've only had Reverend Carr, and he passed, and now we have Reverend Allen. He's been there 35 years, but I've been there 50-something years.
So what are some of your favorite memories from your church community?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
She's like,
Too many.
Yeah. But our Father taught us to like everybody, because God loves all of us. So I tried to be that way. And my pastor came and his wife came one day to see me. And I was telling him how nice the church had been. Oh, I get more calls and more. He said, well, Ann, you've been nice to everybody. It doesn't hurt you to be nice to people. I don't care who you are, black, white, green, or whatever. So I've had a good life. Very good life.
I definitely agree. So, do you feel like while you were in Mount Pleasant, you've had a lot of great experiences from the past and now with people around?
Yes, well, I've always had people around me. My father came from a family of 17 children. And I only have one aunt left now. But I've always had people around me. My mother used to teach us, especially the girls in the family, don't run in people's houses all the time. Be nice to people, but you don't run in the houses unless they invite you. And I still believe that.
That's some great life advice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to go back to your social work career as a social worker. What, did you only ever work with children then, or?
Oh no, in the beginning, before I finished school, I did everything. One of my sisters used to be a chef, and I worked with her. And I did a lot of things before that, because I hadn't finished school.
Mm-hmm. And then after you got your degree, you only worked with children?
Mm-hmm.
That was like your specialty?
That's all I did. Children. It's called Children. It's not there anymore, they tell me. Children Youth Service, right on the street from the courthouse in Media. Because our paychecks came from the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I get a paycheck every month. I still, because I didn't take all my money at once, so I get a check every month from the courthouse.
I think there's something that's similar to that around, though.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't been to the Media for a long time, but right down the street from the courthouse was a building. It was called Children and Youth Service, and I was there 23 years.
Wow, 23 years?
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel being a social worker, like looking back?
Well, I liked it. I liked it because I was doing something for children. I really liked it. And if you were in my other house, you'll see all the plaques I got for working with children. Because I haven't, the one, my house on Mount Pleasant Avenue, I have certificates for working with children.
So you were really good then, huh?
Well, they thought I was. But all of my pictures are still on the walls and certificates I've gotten. And then I used to work part-time for a travel agent.
Oh.
I got that job because I used to go to travel agent and I used to take people on trips. And finally he asked me, was after I retired, would I work part-time for him? Because I could really get people on trips. So on my wall there, I have a wall full of plates everywhere I've been. And I have traveled in just about every state in the United States.
Really?
And I love that.
Do you have a favorite one?
Oh, I can't say. I like Atlanta, Georgia. I really do. But I have never been to the state of Washington. But most of that. And just think, when I sell my house, I got to take all those plates down.
Have you been to any other countries?
Oh yeah, I went to France one year. And where else we did go? Because when I was working for the travel agent, I could go as a coordinator, and see, I didn't have to pay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to become a travel agent.
Yeah. You know how to do that. You know how to travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had a good life. I really have.
Wow, France?
So you asked me, but I used to help my oldest sister to cook for people.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to cook. And what else have I did? I worked in a drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done other things
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't like, but I did it because I had to.
Yeah.
That's an inspiration. Never staying still, never giving up.
So what do you consider one of your biggest accomplishments to be?
To finish college, because back there then, blacks had a hard time getting in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ever remember anyone I know that got scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of that way today, too. And I was proud of my brothers. All three of them went in the service. And one of them came out a captain.
Wow.
He went to school while he was in his pictures up on that wall. And I was proud of my family. Like my mother used to say, my mother lived to be 90 now.
Wow.
And she used to say, I'm so proud of my children. None of them have been to jail. She always said that. Mm-hmm. But growing up on a farm and your own farm later, my father farmed for somebody else first, and he bought a farm. And you have done all of these things. I feel very proud of my whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And Barbara and her 3 daughters, but all of them have finished college. I'm not proud of them because I have a hand in helping them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say you can't do anything because you can do it. Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit before about the discrimination that you received.
Mm-hmm.
Did you receive any because you were female as well, or was that not as big?
No, it was because I was black.
Mm-hmm.
Did you receive a lot of it when you moved here to Mount Pleasant, or no?
No, not as much. Because then I was around working from Media Courthouse over there, and I was treated real good. But even then, it was only 2 black social workers, 1 man and 1 woman. But when I was going there part-time, I was living in Philadelphia. I had a duplex in Philadelphia. And I lived downstairs and had tenants.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got rid of that house about 5 years ago. I should have been in the real estate business. I could have
Yeah,
made
you
some
should
money.
have been. Travel agent, real estate.
What are you going to be when you finish school?
I want to be a teacher because I love children. So I
And you?
Yeah.
I'm actually going for my social work degree.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I felt real good helping children.
Mm-hmm.
In first place, I was astonished because I didn't know people did that to their children.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out they would burn them. They'd do a lot of things. 'Cause see, when I was growing up, I didn't hear that, how people got rid of the kids. I really was surprised when I found out how people would give their children to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I never heard of that when I was growing up. It was 7 of us to feed, but we had nice parents. We had parents that loved us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Was it hard then to go into that new world of?
Well, I was surprised because I didn't know people burn their children and put them in a tub to drown them and all that. I really didn't, because this little town we lived in, they might have done it, but we didn't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised. I thought if you had 10 children, you treated all of them alike.
Yeah.
But it's not that way with social work, I'm telling you now.
Nope. Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. Just trying to think of what else we didn't go over yet.
Besides like cooking and gardening and social work and were there any little hobbies that you really enjoyed doing?
Traveling was mostly the only thing, because I always, well, when I was growing up, I can remember, I told my father, when I get grown, I'm going to be a movie star, because my aunt would give me all these books, magazines and things, and I was just dreaming. I told her I was going to be a social worker, and I was going to buy him and my mother a beautiful home. Well, as you know, I didn't become. I used to model hats, though,
Oh.
because I have hats. I guess I have about 20 hats.
Wow.
You know, at fashion shows and things.
Mhm.
But I would look at these magazines and saw how nice they look. And I don't go out without getting dressed. But I was never a fashion. I wasn't that. But I used to think that's what I want. I had one aunt, the one I lived with, to go to high school in Washington. She had nice clothes and fur coat and all that.
Mhm.
But other than that, we didn't have money to buy. My mother never had no fur coat or anything like that.
But you modeled hats?
Fashion shows, yeah.
Wow. What was
But
that
just
like?
church fashion
Yeah.
show. Well, first, I tell people that, and they don't believe it. I used to be very shy. Very shy.
Mhm.
I wouldn't talk. And now that I talk so much, when I tell people I used to be shy, they don't believe me. But I did. I would sit up in grade school and I would know the answer and was too shy to say. But I found out later, when you're shy, you don't get anywhere in this world.
I would have never guessed that you used to be shy, because as soon as we walked in here, you were lit up and happy and ready to go.
Well, like I say, I've had a good life, and now my niece want me to stay here for a while, but I'm gonna try to get a smaller house, cause my tax in Yeadon in May is $8,000. Cause see, I'm paying tax on the house, Mount Pleasant, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And like I say, I don't need it. That house have 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a big yard. Not as big as this one, but a big yard.
Mhm.
Have the taxes always been really high?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's high there because we don't have no markets, no anything there. And Yeadon is a borough, it's not a city. So that's why I want to sell it and get like a smaller house. Because I don't entertain now. So I don't need that.
Okay. So, going back to Mount Pleasant, and accepting everyone. So, are you excited about the students moving in here? And
Yes, I am.
yeah, have you met any or?
No, met two the other day. But when my father and mother lived in this house, we didn't have any students years ago. I lived in this house for a while. Of course, Barbara had done it over. But I used to live here years ago. And Mount Pleasant is different. When I lived here, it was only 2-3 houses on this street. And now you see the beautiful homes over there.
Are you happy about the change?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I think everyone should live where they want to live.
So it's like a great opportunity.
Yes, it's a great opportunity. And like I say, I remember when they didn't have Wayne now, I'm talking about, didn't have all these houses. And I was surprised when I came to visit my niece the first time. Because I remember when there was only 2-3 houses on this street.
Do you have an absolute favorite memory in Mount Pleasant, or
Yeah, because
experience
I
that you like
liked
to
it.
tell?
It was different from living on a farm. And I liked it, and I had bought my own house. That's one thing I always said I was going to have, is a nice house.
So you love the fact that Mount Pleasant gave you the chance to buy a house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I'm going to sell it, and the property is worth 3 times as much as it used to. But like I say, I don't need a big house, and I don't need to pay all that tax.
So you're passing on the Mount Pleasant experience to the next family.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny. Barbara had 3 lovely daughters. And Janae, she doesn't have, but 2 of her, all of her daughters live close to here. And that makes it nice.
Okay.
And those little kids you saw,
Yeah.
they are the love of my life. And that little boy, I have more from him. He is so smart. He's only 17 months old, and he can do anything. He calls me Aunt, Aunt. So I have fun with him.
He's adorable.
I guess he get it from the other 2. The girl you saw, she's just 5.
She's very spirited, I can tell. Yeah.
But see, that father's a teacher, the mother's a teacher, and they live down the end of the street on this side. So I get a chance to see them. They go to school, though, preschool, but they were home today because nobody would drive them. But when they get in kindergarten, they're going to be real good.
So you love the fact that the area around Mount Pleasant is able to give you your grandnieces and nephews?
Yeah.
4
4 generations of
Yeah.
nieces and nephews.
I know, that's a big family.
Yeah.
So preschools around here, because I know where I live, they don't have many preschools to start off kindergarten.
Well, they go, I never rode in this car when they were going. They live up near, they go to school near Westchester, up that way. I don't know why they go like 3 days a week. Now, Jared don't go, the little one, but the other girl, you know, and they can write pretty good. So, you know, I have lived to see 4 generations of nieces and nephews.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes. Did you do anything fun to celebrate your birthday?
My nieces, Barbara and Barbara's 3 daughters, gave me a 90th birthday at Drexelbrook. And they told me I could have 50. Then I was naming more. They said you can have 75. And finally they allowed me to have 100.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At Drexelbrook. Because I like Drexelbrook anyway. Because churches and things, you know, have a lot of things there. And you know, everybody that I invited came. That's
Wow.
unusual too.
Yeah.
But they were mostly from my church. And I have a nephew that live in Creston, Rhode Island. He comes down quite often to see me. And then I have nieces and nephews in Westchester. So they're close around. But that was a nice party. Now I'll be 91 if I live to see September.
I think you will.
I don't know.
You'll have to plan a bigger party then.
Yeah.
Invite 200.
Well, they gave me, my
200.
first one they gave me when I was 80.
Mhm.
And then they insist on giving it to me when I was 90. So when I become 91, I don't want a big birthday party.
Just something small.
Mm-hmm. But the thing of it is, I know so many people. But you can't invite everybody.
That's very
I
true.
might invite you too.
Yeah.
We'll come.
I'll definitely come.
Yeah, we'll be there.
It's funny because my father said when he turns 60, he's gonna have a sweet 60.
Yeah. Tell him, wait till you get 90. I didn't ask you, you want to be a teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Did I? I asked you to? Yeah. You gonna be a social worker? Yeah, good job.
Good job. If it counts, both of my parents are social workers.
Yeah.